Yeah, definitely ready. I got plenty to say about this episode.
Hello, salutations, what it do? It's not the gamer, all father, the Durag gang, you know the vibes. Like, subscribe, let's get it. We got our mod of thunder, Ty Versal, joining me today. Say what's up to the people, Ty Versal.
How is it going? All the Durag gang.
Yeah, so you guys voted. You wanted me to talk about What If today, so here we are. We're talking about What If. I, of course, watched the episode. Ty Versal literally just watched the episode before we went live. This man wanted to wait until the last possible minute, but that's okay. At least he got it done. This is actually the only episode of What If you've actually seen, right?
Yeah, definitely. I have not seen any other episode because it just I didn't really care for it that much. It wasn't a must see, kind of like the way that the canon series like Falcon and the Winter Soldier and all the other ones, like it wasn't a priority like those.
I bet. I mean, to me, it's Disney Plus, new Marvel content. I'm paying for Disney Plus. I might as well watch it. Marvel, you know.
Well, I was watching anime for quite a minute, and Money Heist and all that.
I do all those things too, and I keep up with the series. What's going on, chat? What's up, Constable Moo? What's that boy dude? I don't know what all the shushing is, but cut it out immediately. Let's talk.
Wait, what?
Marvel. What If?
Shushing.
What's up, Jav? When Darcy said, "I thought you were a captain, dude, but look at you not being a dude," or something like that. So first, okay. So
that was extra forced.
Okay, so let me first. I'll give my thoughts on the episode. You give your thoughts as well. So my thing with this episode is that I love the darker tone that What If has taken this season, especially with the last several weeks of episodes. They've just been a lot darker, a lot more interesting to me, and I thought they gotten progressively a lot better. Some of the writing in some of the episodes could have been a lot better, like the zombie episode and the Doctor Strange. But overall, I love the direction that they were going with the more darker tone. The Killmonger episode was incredible. And then we got Party Thor, the comic relief episode back, and it reminded me a lot of what started annoying me about Marvel, the main MCU canon. It's like the humor in this episode was hella cringe, like really bad in some areas. Like it felt like I'm reminded of the Steve Buscemi meme, you know, "Hello, fellow kids," for most of for a lot of the episode. I was just like, oh, who's writing this? But that was fine. The biggest thing though is that this episode imagined, what if Thor grew up without Loki? And the answer is basically Thor in Endgame for some reason, because Thor, as you know, if you've been watching MCU, is kind of a joke now. They didn't know what to do with Thor for the first two movies, and then Taika Waititi figured out, hey, Chris Hemsworth is funny, let's make, you know, the next Thor movie a comedy, and that went over well. And then I feel like ever since then, they've just stopped taking Thor seriously as a character. Like, he peaked in Infinity War, in my opinion, and now he's a joke. You know, you had Fat Thor in Endgame, and now Party Thor, I feel like, is a continuation of that, where they just go over the top to make Thor look like a complete moron. and it really parts of it definitely annoyed me. You know, the whole don't tell mommy, you know, and having a Captain Patriarchy Destroyer come in and give apparently she can punch planets now, out of existence, because that was definitely a thing in the MCU. And the fight between them was pretty cool, but it was really, I just felt like they just went over the top to make Thor seem just too much of a douche. Like, I understand not having Loki trying to kill him every 5 minutes might have some impact on him, but even though Thor was, kind of a jerk in the first movie, they just made him a complete dude bro from 2001.
They made him a frat boy.
It was so cringe at times, and there was definitely a lot of forced stuff in there as well. And I wasn't fully on board. And then they of course had to throw out which is now tradition. They did this the other week with the zombie episode, and now this week you have the ending tease. It's got to be a cliffhanger, and it doesn't matter if the cliffhanger altogether makes sense. It's just boom. This is potentially something that's happening, and as of course Ultron / Vision showing up at the end and through a portal. So, and we know from the mid-season preview that Party Thor will be back, and the different characters are going to be meeting and merging. So that's probably going to be a future villain. So we got to see how that whole thing came about. But overall, I give the episode a 6 out of 10. It was amusing at times, but this whole Thor is a joke thing is getting a bit old for my taste, and it already makes me not look forward to Thor: Love and Thunder. What do you think, Ty Versal?
Well, this episode was interesting. You're being nice, giving it a 6 out of 10. I give it a 3.
You gave it a 3?
Just for the fact that, of course, it made Thor a joke, number one. And number two, like, the whole party thing, I was just like, so you really just made him a freaking frat boy? Number one. The number two. I don't even know what number I'm on. It's just too many things that I had a problem
You're
with.
doing a lot of counting.
I'm not even gonna do counting anymore. I'm just gonna be on, like, it's just the fact that they brung in Captain Karen to try to do some work, and I'm just like, so were you just trying to show us power scaling between these two or something? Because, like, you already like nerfed the mess out of Thor in the regular MCU, and then we get this little battle between them two, and now she can nuke an entire crater in the planet, and then you're about to shoot a nuke at them anyway, and the only thing that's stopping him is his mom, because Jane called on Heimdall with some type of device. And I'm just like, well, couldn't Heimdall just hear her without it anyway?
Couldn't Heimdall literally sees all, so couldn't he have just said something the entire time? Like,
exactly. That was another weird thing that I was just like, what is going on here? And then, like, just it was just a weird episode altogether. And then the fact that, like, this god comes here just to party, and Fury's just like, this isn't your planet, and I'm all like, dude.
Like, it was kind of funny that Korg took out Nick Fury, though. But
it was hilarious, but I'm just like, what was the point of bringing Captain Karen in this? Like my favorite part was when Captain Karen got uppercutted by Mjolnir all the way to another island. Like, I was happy about that, because I don't like Captain Karen.
yeah. We are not we're not simps here, unlike some people that frequent the chat for Brie Larson. But I thought the fight between them was actually well animated, and it looked pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, it looked good.
But it was just weird. It was just kind of annoying that they were just going over the top. Like, with some of these episodes, they seem to be like reinventing aspects of the MCU. Like, in order to make the Doctor Strange episode work, they had to reinvent Rachel McAdams' character as being like the love of Doctor Strange's life, someone that he couldn't possibly live without, which is definitely not the vibe we got in the first Doctor Strange movie. And in this one, they just seem like they just with just randomly throwing stuff in there to make Captain Marvel seem like a complete god. All of a sudden, like, oh, I can't use my full power because I'll destroy the planet. Like, you're not Goku. What are you talking about? And
exactly, like,
and then of course Crossbones wanted to nuke everything because of course he's part of Hydra at that point timeline. But they were like, oh, Captain Marvel would be fine. As implying that Thor can't take nuke, but Captain Marvel can take multiple nukes now. Like what what are we talking about here?
Like, really? Really? This man Thor took on he took on the entire he took on a star. So you really think a nuke is gonna kill him? Think about that. Like he literally took on all the heat of a star that he brung back to life just so he can make an axe. And he has Mjolnir at the time, so if the axe brought him back like the way, you know, it did in Infinity War, then I'm pretty sure that hammer is keeping him alive. Let's just be real right now.
It was also pretty weird. Like this episode reminded me actually a lot of the first Chadwick Boseman episode. What if T'Challa was Star-Lord, and in that the way that these characters influence the universe and the characters around them is just hilariously unrealistic. Like in the Star-Lord What If, you know, Star-Lord instead of him being picked up by Yondu, T'Challa is abducted instead and becomes Star-Lord. And then we find out when he's grown up that simple change, replacing him with T'Challa, brought peace to the entire universe. Everyone's a good guy now. Freaking Thanos abandoned his whole plan to get the Infinity Stones and join Yondu and T'Challa's crew just because he had a conversation and like, oh, you're right. I'm just gonna abandon the Infinity Stone. You're right, Mr. T'Challa. Why did anyone else think of that?
What?
Yeah, completely. Yeah, literally everything. The only bad guy left is seemingly in the universe when T'Challa becomes Star-Lord is the Collector, who uses all the stuff he's collected to make himself super jacked and give himself all sorts of powers. But Thanos is on T'Challa's crew, and Yondu's somehow a much nicer guy, and every time T'Challa meets someone, they just like, oh, you're the greatest, I love you. And we have the reverse here in Party Thor, where somehow Loki not growing up with Thor made Thor not only more of a party type of person and a slacker, which is very different from his proud warrior persona that he's supposed to have. He's just supposed to be an arrogant jerk, not, you know, just this moron frat boy. But everyone's like partying. Like you have freaking Surtur come through to Midgard and party with Thor and try to have sex with the Statue of Liberty. Like what are we doing here?
What
are we doing here? Why?
I don't.
The frost giants are like chill now that Loki ruled them. Like they're all just casual. Let's go to Vegas and have fun with the Asgardians. The tension there is completely gone. Everyone's just chill. Thor and Loki become somewhat closer than when they actually grew up together. Like they're separate, but they still find a way to be best friends as long as they're partying. It was just very weird. Everyone's completely, for the most part, out of character. It's like weird that Thor, just that one change of Loki not trying to kill Thor, all of a sudden changes the personalities of everybody in the cosmos. just it's like Thor got a new power where his partying becomes contagious and just makes everyone just silly. Comic relief. I didn't get it. The only one that didn't have a sense of humor in the whole thing was, of course, Captain Karen. who was there to be the hall monitor and quiet the noise. It was just very weird.
That was that episode was just awkward. I'm just gonna say that right. That episode was just awkward.
It was.
I was looking at it. I'm just like, what is this? I was like, why? What this man said that got me watching, man. Like, that's all I was thinking to myself.
I wish you came in on the Killmonger episode. You should definitely watch that.
Oh gosh, but the one thing is, how come all within the MCU they've always made it a thing where Loki was one of the smaller giants, and he just ended up being the same exact size, and if not bigger than the other giants. And I'm just like, so did you guys just literally forget that whole thing?
Yeah, just threw it out. Just threw it out. No explanation.
And what wasn't he actually abandoned on purpose because he was too small?
Yes.
So what? What? How does this correlate? Like, did the timeline change?
He was abandoned.
Loki was actually a regular giant, and he didn't meet Thor. So
yeah, the change is supposed to be what if Thor is the only child, but instead is what if Loki somehow was not Loki? What if he was just a regular giant and Odin picked him up as a baby, was like, nah, I don't want it, and gave him back to the Frost Giants, and the Frost Giants didn't immediately throw him in a dumpster or something and just raised him like regular as a prince? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, I was just like, what is? Did you guys just forget like how you did Loki for the longest? Like, what is this?
Yeah, it felt like all the characters were just there to service the plot of Thor just being a party animal, and all the Asgardians, everyone just they're not proud warriors anymore. Before Thor came to Earth, he's like over 1,000 years old. The Asgardians, we know from the MCU timeline, were always a warrior race. Like, Hela was sealed away because they were just full on imperialists, slaughtering everyone. But they settled down after Hela was sealed, but they were still very much a warrior type of people. But for some reason, just because Loki wasn't trying to kill Thor all the time, all of a sudden, the Asgardians aren't raised to fight. Thor's no longer a warrior now. He just likes to party. Like, what? Why? How does that change make sense? I don't get it. Why does taking away Loki make Thor party? If anything, I feel like without the influence of Loki, I feel like he should have just been more like his dad, if anything.
I feel like he should have just been Batman at that point if Loki wasn't there.
Yeah, like why would he be like all the attention would be on him. There would be no competition for the throne, no pranks. It would just be.
You would still have very high expectations of the only son of Odin.
Yeah, and instead they went, oh well, if he was just the only child, then that means he's just going to be lazy and rebellious and like what? Like why? Like why? Like why? I don't get it.
So basically, they just said Loki's not there, so he's Loki. What?
And not even it's still like this is worse than even the Loki in his show. Like I thought they make Loki goofy in that, but Thor is just a full-on moron. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. All he wants to do is drink and hang out and sleep with, like, that's all he wants to do. And the only thing stopping him apparently is Heimdall selectively not using his nigh omnipotence with his vision, and his mommy. like every 1,000 years, Odin goes to sleep, and his mommy goes to drink wine with the girls, and then Thor just goes to party. It was like what are we watching right now?
were literally just watching an episode of basically every sitcom known to man.
Yeah, and the preview of the next week, because I'm seeing Sleepy thinks the next episode will be a direct. He's asking if the next episode will be a direct part 2. The preview for episode 8 is up, and it looks like I saw Thanos in the thumbnail, so I think this is the What If Gamora was Thanos episode. Just guessing off the thumbnail. I knew this was coming based on the images and everything like that, but I think that's going to be next week's episode. So far they haven't done direct sequels. All the episodes that have had cliffhangers were just one-off so far, but presumably at some point they're going to tie together. But so far they haven't had any sequel episodes. The first episode was What If Peggy Carter became Captain America. It was very much an adaptation of the first Avenger, and they didn't actually just copy everything over. They went right into T'Challa as Star-Lord. Then you had What If the Avengers were killed during the Avengers Initiative? What if Doctor Strange lost his heart? What if zombies? What if Killmonger? What all that? Everything has just been contained so far, but we know eventually they're going to link up together, and presumably I would hope that they're going to have an episode. I think they are. I think it's the episode where they explain why Vision is Ultron. That's supposed to be, if I'm not mistaken, it's supposed to be some kind of episode where they reimagine the events of the Sokovia, all that.
Thor was never there.
Which should be coming later. So that will give us, some context for why Vision in Ultron's body just suddenly popped up in Party Thor's universe.
Which, to be fair, around that time, Ultron wasn't even thought about being created, if we're being real.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't supposed to be.
So I'm guessing
depends on when this was.
So I'm guessing it has to be a universe. It has to be this Vision / Ultron has to be like he had to have crossed multiverse or something. Like that
had to.
Because in this timeline, and that's how I think it's going to be explained. Hopefully, but it just seems like a weird thing to drop out of nowhere. But because at this point in the timeline, this is around the time of the first Thor movie. The Avengers Initiative has not started yet. This was supposed to be when Thor is cast down to Earth because he's not worthy. And at this point, the only people working with Nick Fury are Hawkeye and Black Widow as agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Captain Marvel, of course, he already met in the 90s, but he hasn't approached Tony about the initiative. So we know in this universe, Ultron hasn't happened yet. So he has to have come from one of the other dimensions. So they're going to have to not only do an episode explaining how he became Ultron, but also how he's crossing multiverse. Why?
And will we see him in the real MCU if he's actually crossing multiverses?
I don't think
that one.
The only so far
we'll never see that.
So far, the only character that I know, that I've heard is coming into the regular MCU from What If is Captain Carter. That's the one thing I know. And yeah, I just saw that Marvel's Avengers just announced their next MCU skin. It's gonna be Iron Man from his solo movie. So yay, Iron Man fans.
Oh. Wow. And I won't be there to enjoy it.
Yes, because you uninstalled the game. So I'll of course make a video.
They need to get their act together. Like I'm tired of you buy skin now. Yes, I'm tired.
Looks like your camera went out, sir.
It did.
Yes. I'm just
okay.
I'm just looking at a Skype symbol.
That's weird.
There you go. Back up. What about Silver Surfer? John? Yeah. What did you guys in the chat think? John says just wrote Silver Surfer for some reason. He probably did because he doesn't have all the stones. What do you mean, Ski? Captain. Oh man, Captain Feminism, leader of the MCU.
The MCU.
I mean, I'm not trying to go full the quartering here, but yeah, it was like not exactly exciting to have Brie Larson back. You don't think Captain Carter would be another Captain Karen? I thought they handled Peggy Carter very well in the first episode. The only problem with the first episode was that it felt like very much, for the most part, a reskin of Captain America: The First Avenger, and nothing really, stood out. Whereas you had some of the other episodes that felt like the true spirit of What If that you would expect from the comic book runs, where it told a truly unique story that made you go, oh yeah, wow, yeah, that changed a lot. That's crazy. Instead, it was basically, oh yeah, Peggy Carter is literally exactly like Steve Rogers in that first movie, even down to the muscles. Like the only difference was that Steve stayed skinny and ended up wearing the first Iron Man suit, which was cool. But it was mostly the episode just played out like food. You feel like the next one will be Ultron? Yeah. I saw Thanos, so I got double check what the episode is about. When is that MCU Hulk skin that doesn't have 8x coming? Keep waiting for that, Incredible Harry. I don't think it's coming. Grissom keeps promoting Art of the Zoo because he's a furry. Ultron Vision, he had all the Infinity Stones, so he probably is traveling through the multiverse if the stones can do that. I don't remember that being listed with the MCU Infinity Stones. Do you remember? I know the Space Stone lets you travel across space, but I don't remember it allowing you to access the multiverse. Was that? Do you remember that being a thing?
I definitely don't remember that being a thing.
I don't remember that being a thing. I mean,
I'm pretty sure if they could do that, they definitely would have worked in the TVA. If that's the case.
I mean, they'll just make it up. I mean, at the TVA, obviously the stones used. So I don't
exactly. So if they could transcend multiverses, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have been useless in the TVA. So
well, then again, the What If universe definitely has taken some liberties, even though it's supposed to be based directly off the MCU. They definitely make a lot of changes and decisions that make it seem like they just like, oh, forget about that. Like the Doctor Strange episode did all sorts of stuff with time travel, which was already wacky to begin with in Marvel's in the MCU, especially after the whole TVA debacle. So who knows? So basically, the rules of the time travel in the MCU is basically whatever the writers demand for the plot, whatever the plot demands at the time, because all the rules they established are just repeatedly broken and make no sense. So when it comes to time travel, who knows? But I'm pretty sure they'll have to come up with a different explanation for why Vision / Ultron can travel through the multiverse. I know evil Doctor Strange had unlocked some crazy powers, so I guess that explains why he can travel around. I think he's going to be the link. But other than that, I'm not sure how Vision is getting around.
That the whole deal is with the MCU right now is I was hoping it wouldn't come to a point where we would just be like, well, the writers did this, so I guess we're just gonna have to rely on the writers. Like I wanted it to be more of a story in on itself, and us not having to rely on the writers to actually be good at what they're doing. It's like why do I have to rely on the writers to know what they're doing, to know if something's gonna be good or not? That's the big problem with a lot of things. Why does my camera keep cutting out?
I don't know. You need to cut it out, Tyversal.
I'm not doing anything.
Stop the malarkey.
My camera. my camera's working. It's just I look down at the stream and I see it's not working. I'm just like, what the heck? But yeah, that's the big problem with the MCU right now. They're doing too much with the whole comic relief thing. It's getting extra cringe at this point. Like, it was very good, you know, it was subtle and very good, you know, at first. And I was like, okay, I appreciate this, you know, a little bit of comic relief, you know, kind of take the edge off a little bit. But then they started getting way out of hand with it. Things started getting cringe, especially the Black Widow movie with the whole poser thing. I was like, why is that even in your head? Why is this a reoccurring thing to you? That you just like, oh, you're a poser, and then you do the pose when you drop from an event, and you're just like, and then you cringe, and I'm just like, what is this?
Yeah,
it's like this joke is just extra force. What?
Yeah, the comedy is definitely not hitting in Phase 4 so far. Incredible Harry wants to know, do I ever think Hulk versus Captain Marvel will ever come to the MCU? And absolutely not. Like, there's, if you're talking about the main MCU continuity, no. Like, at this point, Hawk is no longer a rage monster. Like, they seem to, well, they, at the end of Shang-Chi, they basically threw in that Professor Hulk is gone now, so he's somehow reversed that transformation. But I assume he's still in control. We don't know. They didn't really go into details, but yeah, Hulk is not going to be rampaging, and quite frankly, I'm not expecting to see a lot of Brie Larson in the MCU going forward anyway. But I definitely don't see a scenario where the Hulk does any crossovers with Captain Marvel. Like, Hulk is going to be in the She-Hulk series on Disney Plus. I don't think he's going to, maybe he'll appear in some movies, but Hulk isn't really someone that's been getting a lot of shine as of late. You know, based if what they showed him in Endgame is anything to go by, then I think they're going to be just gradually scaling him down and eventually replacing him with She-Hulk altogether. Just like I feel like they're trying to shove Chris Hemsworth out the door as well, you know, to make room for apparently Jane. So I'm definitely not expecting a Captain Marvel She-Hulk fight, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a Wanda versus Doctor Strange fight in Multiverse of Madness. I can see that. Why do you think Bruce reverted back? Probably plot reasons. I don't think, because they explained it in Endgame, like, oh, we came to an understanding, and it seemed like they framed it as Bruce completed some kind of character arc and made peace with the Hulk, you know, because before the Hulk, he couldn't get the Hulk to come out, and now they ended up just combining forces and just being just one and the same. But apparently that being reverted, to me, means that they probably just was like, oh, well, we don't want to have this. Or maybe because he's going to be in the She-Hulk series, they're trying to save money on CGI. We just didn't want to have Professor Hulk running around the whole time. So they were like, well, we want him in the show, but we don't want to have to pay the money to have the full CGI Hulk the entire time. So let's just put him back to Mark Ruffalo, and we'll think of a reason later. That's what I'm thinking.
I'm just disappointed.
He's not
MCU altogether.
He's not mad. He's just disappointed.
Yeah, I'm not mad. No, I'm not mad. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. It's just like MCU had such a good start, such a good middle, and like now we're at the point where they're pandering, number one, which is terrible. Like pandering has been pretty terrible in the year of 2020 and 2021 so far. In these 2 years, pandering has been just a thing. And it's just that, like, They don't care about telling a good story anymore.
Yeah, I get.
That's the problem.
Yeah, that's why I feel like that's why like for What If, it hasn't been that bad. You know, there definitely been some episodes that missed in some regard, but yeah, overall, it feels like the Phase 4 is not shaping up to be nearly as good as the Infinity Saga. You know, definitely seems like for political reasons, they're not just making different casting decisions, but also making full-on creative decisions. Of course, famously, Kevin Feige cutting Doctor Strange from WandaVision because he's a straight white male, and the black and Falcon, Iron Man, and others being cut from the Black Widow movie because she doesn't need the boys. So stuff like that makes it seem, and on top of that, it makes it seem like they are just also hiring less experienced writers than they usually do. Because I looked at the credits for the people behind the Black Widow movie, and they basically did nothing. Like, I'm like, nothing in their resume makes it seem like they deserve to be helming a $200 million movie. And it showed. Like, there were aspects of the movie, mostly visually, that worked, but the story was a complete disaster, unfortunately. And
then go ahead.
And then you have Loki, which looked great from the trailers, but then they gave us a little bait and switch, and instead of it just being an interesting take on Loki, a look at this villain turn kind of who's become kind of a fan favorite, instead it was just the story of female Loki and how awesome she is. It was just like, well, we didn't watch this series. We didn't turn into the series to see Sophie. We came in here to see Loki. We like Tom Hiddleston. We know Tom Hiddleston. We thought this show was going to be about him, and instead it's about someone completely different, and he's the butt of every joke. And I'm hoping that if there's backlash or if stuff is doing as well, they'll like kind of scale it back, because Shang-Chi, I thought, even though it had some of those elements, it was still a way better movie than Black Widow, and showed that they could, at the very least, even though the movie can be still very flawed, they actually can put out quality work if they actually, do it. What were you going to say, Ty Versal?
I think I just drew a blank.
Did you?
Yeah, I definitely.
Did you just have a stroke?
I was definitely like ready. I was like, I had something to say, but I just lost it.
I still would chest pass a Ty Versal. You just like, oh.
It just hit me in the chest, and I'm just like, oh, you passing that to me?
like, bro, what is happening? Act like you've been on camera before.
Wait, what? Okay. But yeah, that's just the problem. Oh yeah, I was going to talk about the Black Widow movie, of course, because just in general, like, it could have been such a good movie. It could have been, just like, all the aspects of it was terrible, but the thing was, I would have forgiven everything bad about that movie. I would have forgiven it if they would have just went ahead and said, okay, Taskmaster, we're gonna make him comic book accurate. That was my biggest problem in the entire movie. They just went ahead and said, we're gonna just completely say, forget about Taskmaster. The dude Anthony Masters, we don't care about him. He's not Taskmaster in our universe. That's all they said. And I'm just like, so the entire, like, because Taskmaster was probably one of the biggest things that I was looking forward to in that movie, because I was just like, yes, finally Taskmaster gets himself a live action, just yes. I was just so happy. And then when I saw what they did, at first, I'm thinking he was just gonna be some brain dead, basically robot the entire time. And I was just like, just okay. I'll take that. But then when he took the mask off, I was like,
oh, it's the child that Black Widow blew up years ago.
And I'm just like, what is this? Y'all basically, the little crybaby that's in Marvel's Avengers playing as Taskmaster was better than this garbage.
Yeah, the X-Men Origins Wolverine Deadpool treatment was definitely not it for Taskmaster. I feel like if they had actually given us the actual Taskmaster, it would have made the movie a lot more enjoyable, because villains are a very important part of these sort of movies, and if you get that part right, it can at least smooth over a lot of the other stuff. And I feel like because they didn't really have a good villain setup, all the other problems of the movie were just amplified on top.
Exactly.
Thoughts?
Because I promise.
Yes, we have seen a new Iron Man skin. Thoughts on Falcon and Winter Soldier? Did you even watch that? Have you watched any of the Disney Plus stuff?
I don't know. What if it's the only one I haven't watched? I watched everything else. What if it's the only one I didn't watch?
Yeah. What'd you think of Falcon and Winter Soldier? We wants to know. Aqua wants to know.
I actually enjoyed it up until the whole cops not recognizing a whole Avenger thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. The moment where
that was nice.
Yeah, that was apparently the moment when hundreds of thousands of people left the show.
I mean, the thing was, I already knew something like that was gonna happen.
Yeah.
I just didn't think it was gonna happen the way it did, and I was just like, wait. I know y'all didn't just do that.
It was a bit cringe.
I know
it was a bit cringe. Like I was concerned that this would be a very heavy social justice season for Falcon Winter Soldier, and fortunately that aspect didn't end up being the worst part of the season. I thought, yeah, they definitely had some very cringe SJW moments in the season, but I felt like the biggest problem with Falcon and the Winter Soldier were the flag smash. I thought they were terrible villains. Their role in the story made no sense, and they just had a lot more interesting and competing narratives going on. You know, you had Zemo, they broke Zemo out, and you know, you had the power broker, that whole element. I felt like the Flag Smashers were just not well defined, not interesting, not well written, and the show would have been better if they had just figured something else out and just not had them there at all. Because I didn't really get what maybe COVID affected the writing or something, but they didn't really make any sense as villains. I'm like, why are they even here? Obviously the whole
yeah,
Bucky and Sam getting stopped by police officers that just so happened to be hanging out and decided that they didn't recognize a freaking Avenger because he was black, and his Sam's speech at the end where he's like, "Do better, Senator," and they ask him like, "What?" He's like, "I don't know." I was like, you can't put that in the show. Like, why would you put that in? I
didn't understand the whole "do better" speech. That was just weird to me. I was just like, so you just gonna explain what to do better? Like, you can't just show up in your wing Captain America suit, tell somebody to do better and not know what they need to do better. Like, what were you trying to accomplish?
Yeah, they could have cut that. They could have cut that entire speech.
But the biggest problem to me was the whole Captain America and the whole white America thing.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, I understand he's Captain America, but what about Steve Rogers had anything to do with racism?
Yeah, exactly. I felt like they really were trying to force this whole racism narrative, because in the comics, the conflict Sam is supposed to have about being Captain America is that he doesn't feel like he is worthy of the role of Captain America. Steve is obviously a hero. Everyone loves him. He's an amazing guy. He embodied. He is Captain America. He's great, and Sam feels inferior. He doesn't feel like he deserves or anyone deserves to step into his shoes. Like he was like, I'm not even a super soldier. And instead, for Falcon and Winter Soldier, they just made up this whole narrative that was never even teased before, involving Sam suddenly having not liking America and being like, oh well, I don't know, I'm a black man in America, I don't know if I want to rock. I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? That's never been
Exactly.
That's never been Sam's issue. He's a freaking military veteran. He's fought for his country before he became a freaking Avenger and fought for the world. He knows Captain America, and the fact that he didn't push back when they were throwing this racism garbage at Steve, his best friend. I'm like, what is this? like Steve didn't have a racist bone in his body. He's like the nicest guy in the MCU. He is the definition of a hero in the MCU. If anything, Bucky should have got the shield to keep it real. I understand they wanted to go.
Yeah.
I understand they wanted to make it Black Captain America for Twitter, and that was fine. But the fact that they had Sam struggle with it because of racism it felt forced to me. And I'm glad that ultimately he decided at the end to kind of push that narrative to us to the side and just embrace the whole Captain America gimmick. Apart from that very cringe speech, I thought they tied it off. They tied it off pretty fine. Like, okay, he's rejecting the narrative. He gave the oppressed black super soldier his flowers, and he proudly rocked the colors and embraced the shield. So cool how that ended. But yeah, I definitely felt like they were trying a bit too hard to be current with the news of the day and just inject racism and police brutality into the MCU. Like, just because you have note to white executives, because I know they're the decision makers here, just because you have a black character or a female character getting a prominent role in a movie or show does not mean you have to write them as oppressed. You don't have to put in the oppression narrative just because they're not white. You can tell a story and make it interesting without making their race or their gender the focus of the story or their struggles or their narratives. Like, Shang-Chi was cool. His sister was cool. They didn't have to make her struggle about the patriarchy. They could have just made her struggle about trying to live up to her father in her father's shadow in the absence of Shang-Chi. Instead, they were like, oh well, he didn't because I'm a girl, he didn't torture me like Shang did. So unfair. Like Shang got so unfair. But don't worry, I taught myself how to fight, and I'm better than the boys. And I'm just like, okay. Go ahead. Okay, go ahead.
All right then. All right. That I need to watch Shang-Chi, but I'm not going to the theaters.
Yeah, so. You're not going to do.
Yeah, I'm not. So I'm just gonna wait till it comes on Disney Plus, and because only thing that kind of pushed me so far into Shang-Chi was just the fact that I saw Abomination, and he actually looked like Abomination.
Yeah, and yeah, that scene's pretty cool. Like the movie definitely has its problems, but it was overall very enjoyable. The martial arts are incredible. I felt like it definitely his Shang-Chi's sidekick Katie, played by Awkwafina, was definitely completely unnecessary to the movie. The funniest person in the movie was Wong, and well, I'm not gonna. I'll let you watch the rest of it, but I think it comes to Disney Plus next month. So no, November. So you'll be able to watch it. You could probably watch it right now if you bootleg it. If you want to wait for Disney Plus, I think they said it's November 12th. I saw they announced it.
November, okay.
I guess they just want to make. Gabriel says guess they just want to make stories more relatable, but it hasn't been working well. Yeah, it's not. I don't even think it's that they want to make it relatable. I think it's a very cynical marketing decision. They recognize that social justice is trendy. I'm sure they're hiring more people who see it's cool to be more outspoken and everything like that. So they want to make sure that they're not behind in the times. They think this is going to be the wave, so they want to make sure that they're trendy and they're keeping up with it. So that's why they are doing this, but only because they think they can get away with it. Like, we all know Disney is not for social justice. They literally cut out all the gayness in Star Wars because they knew that if they showed it in China wasn't going to have that. So they cut the gay kiss out of the movie. And I think they also took Finn off the poster for the promos. So we know Disney doesn't only, they mainly care about the bottom line. So we can assume that all of this is just cynical marketing. So I wouldn't even get too attached to it. If there's any sort of backlash, mainly financial backlash, I expect them to roll things back immediately. Because at the end of the day, they are all about the money.
It's just a business at the end of the day, man.
Yeah.
Maybe if we come together as a community and just stop buying their products, maybe they'll make actual good products.
Yeah, like that's going to happen.
But there are too many people that think that this product is actually good. So
I think I think actually Eternals probably is going to flop though. To be the buck.
The Eternals. Yeah, I still haven't watched any trailer, and I don't plan to.
Is Steve dead or in retirement or in a retirement home? Yes.
Yes.
Funniest part to you is how Katie got a free pass to tag along with Shang because they're friends. Like, she walks with Shang into the place as the end. The crazy thing with me is that how two valets in San Francisco could afford plane tickets to China on short notice.
We spoiling movies now.
That's not even a spoiler. They go to China.
Any part of the movie, it's a spoiler.
I'll stop it.
I don't even care about spoilers. I just know when I watch it, it's literally gonna be the same reaction I would have if I didn't get the spoiler. So
I think I literally spoiled it on the stream before. The movie's been out like a month. I literally did a.
I mean, I definitely didn't watch that stream, so
I did a spoiler review with Doom Killer HD as well, which I'm guessing.
Yeah, I didn't watch that stream because I was like, well, I haven't seen it yet.
You're the worst moderator.
Why would I join a stream for a movie I haven't seen yet? What?
Why would you not watch the movie so you can watch the episode?
Because I don't want to pay money.
You're the worst.
I'm being cheap.
Steve is on the moon. Apparently, he's on the moon too. Yeah, they were kind of vague about it. What? They didn't explain why he went back in time and is old. Well, I guess the super soldier serum. I mean, the way his body looked, they made it look like he never took the serum at all. Which is weird because, Steve went back and took it. Our Steve went back to just drop the stones off and then stayed and apparently didn't get taken out by the TVA. Started his life up. And now
that's another problem.
Now he's a feeble old man, but we know that even if you get old, as we saw in Falcon and the Soldier, you're supposed to still, maintain the effects of the super soldier serum, including your size. So I was curious.
Exactly.
I was curious why. Well, they didn't really go into details. So I guess that's another one of those. Don't think too hard about it. That's just
a big problem too. The don't think too hard about it stuff. That's another problem with the MCU. Like, that's pretty much the problem with a lot of things. The whole you don't have to think about it too much. Just let it flow. Like, no, tell me why this is this. What? That's a plot hole. I don't need plot holes.
Yeah, it feels like you kind of have to. It feels like you have to at this point grade some of these movies on a curve because it's stuff on a curve because just which you're not supposed to as a critic because the quality just especially just coming out of Hollywood in general just hasn't been the same. I feel like it's been going downhill. Like I'm watching Black Widow, I'm watching all this stuff and I'm like this is what I'm used to. Am I crazy here? Or like what is this? And I'm seeing people like, oh, this is so amazing. I'm like, the people will just literally just accept anything that's shoved in front of their face. Like this is like I'm just watching stuff. I try to, you know, I'm not trying to watch stuff like a full critic. You know, I want to actually enjoy the content, but I'm also mindful of stuff that doesn't make sense. Like I was looking forward to the zombie episode, but I'm not going to overlook the obviously stupid stuff that happens and I'm like, oh, that didn't make sense. And there's definitely a lot of that in the Party Thor episode where I'm just like, that doesn't work. Like I'm watching it the whole time. I'm like, okay, I get they're trying to make this a comedy episode, but I'm like, this isn't really working. I don't know what this is.
Don't let me be a critic because all these movies will get bad reviews.
I mean, you are
every single one.
I mean, aren't you? Aren't you a critic? You give everything a bad review.
I mean, I'm talking about an official critic.
Official critic. Okay, you're not going to make actual videos about it or anything yet.
Oh no, I'm an official critic that goes to the movies and writes a review about it.
I don't think those exist anymore.
Oh, they don't? Oh, well.
They're you have.
I guess I'm a critic now.
Well, they're bloggers now, or they make videos.
Okay, am I allowed to say I hate bloggers? Because if I'm not, I still don't care.
I mean,
I hate bloggers.
I mean, you can say whatever you want. A lot of people hate bloggers, but I don't think people.
Bloggers do a lot of pandering nowadays.
People don't even listen to really. I feel like people don't even listen to film critics anymore. I feel like whenever a new movie is about to come out, I just look at the Rotten Tomatoes score, and if the audience loves it and the critics hate it, I assume the movie's good. And if the reverse is true, I assume it was bad. And that's my guiding principle when it comes to movies if I'm not sure about them. I can't remember the last time I actually sat down and read a critic's review to actually, you know, influence whether or not I was going to see a movie or not. I feel like their time. I feel like the time of the critic is over. It's all about the audience score now. The audience reaction.
I just need all these creators of everything MCU, anything comic book related, superhero, all that. Word of advice: pick up a comic book.
I think that's the problem. Like I think Kevin Feige was talking about how what they're doing with this phase, like with Shang-Chi and the Eternals, is that they're not strictly looking, and with Blade in particular, the writers of Blade were talking about how there's basically no Blade canon. They're given free reign to do whatever they want, and I think that's the idea, because if they want to inject their politics into stuff and they want to have their own vision of the MCU, they'll look at the comics as reference now, but they aren't going to go out of their way to really follow it. They just want to tell whatever story they want to tell, just using these established characters as a vehicle to establish legitimacy. That's why I think they chose to make Eternals and Shang-Chi, because most people don't know who these characters are, so they can basically cast whoever they want, make whatever story they want, and no one really is going to check them on it. So I think that's the idea going forward. Now with Blade is actually pretty popular thanks to Wesley Snipes. So
yeah,
I'm actually deeply concerned about that movie. Like once I found out it was PG-13, I was already pretty concerned, but now that, you know, the writers are basically saying we're just going to be able to do whatever they want, I'm not too sure about how that movie's going to be.
Dumpster fire, I'm pretty sure. this point.
I'm just hoping that we don't go and see. I don't go in and see the MCU Blade fighting Donald Trump at some point, because I'm out. But that's I think we're going to wrap this up. I gotta make a reaction video for the Iron Man skin that just dropped in the on Twitter. But I think we had a nice chat. Thank you everyone for tuning in. This is obviously what you wanted to see. Thank you Tyversal, Mod of Thunder, for joining me. It's definitely a lot more fun when I'm not talking to myself in the chat.
Yes, you're welcome.
Make sure you subscribe to Tyversal's channel. He is at Tyversal on YouTube. He is making videos now. He just posted some gameplay of Kana Bridge of Spirits, so definitely check him out. I'm Slot the Gamer,
and I will have Genshin Impact soon as well.
Yes, sir. All right, guys. I'll see you. Well, I'm gonna have like multiple videos today, so I'm gonna see you a lot. All right, guys. Be easy.